Well, what do you all think of nuclear war? I'm sure that most of you are saying, well, Steve, I don't think that it'd be very good. Well, I agree with you. Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. How are you all today? And that's what I want to talk about. The possibility, we don't know the possibility, but as far as preparing for nuclear war, are you prepared? Do you want to be prepared? Do you know what to do if you want to be prepared? Things like that. We're headed down to, what made me think about this, we're headed down to Warsaw, Missouri. Just came through Clinton, and for crying out loud, if you look behind me, you would think we were in the city with all the traffic. Anyway, I guess you can't escape it anymore until you get off one of these dirt roads for a couple of miles. Just to my left, to the north, about 20 miles, is Whiteman Air Force Base. Home of the B-2. The big wings that flew from Whiteman clear over to the Mideast and dropped their loads and flew back. The marvels of modern technology, right? I watched a movie the other day that I was going to do a review on Monday, but then things got away from me. And so if you wonder what happened to last Monday's Monday movie, I didn't do it, but I'll do it this coming one. And it was the day after. It's a movie. I won't do the review right now. I'll do it Monday. But if any of you are familiar with it, it's a 1983 movie made about about Kansas City going up in a nuclear cloud. And so it was quite the movie back then. There's a lot of good lessons in it, a lot of good things that I'll talk about. But that made me think about doing this one. Now, there will be those. There are schools of thought. Or maybe I'll come back to that. First off, we see all the different little maneuverings over there between Russia and Ukraine and us. Well, I shouldn't say us. I should say our government. And right now, the latest is that Putin is saying, well, he doesn't want to take over all of Ukraine, and he's ready for peace talks that should have international involvement. That doesn't mean anything. I know that a lot of people are going to get on here and talk about, it means this and it means that. I'll give my opinion on this. If you don't watch the news, you don't know what's going on, right? If you do watch the news, you don't know what's going on. Because, all the news carries are the things that they know, which have been told, not that they know, but they trust because somebody has told them. Well, the people who know ain't telling. And so we don't know a thing. I would say, however, it's the old saw about knowing and understanding your history, that it wouldn't hurt if you don't have it at your fingertips to study Germany from 1933 on. And right away, people are going to be looking at, who don't know, who haven't delved into it very deeply, and all they know is what they've been taught in high school history class, or college history class, or heard on the news since the 1940s. They'll say, "Oh, that was terrible. Hitler was trying to take over the world, and all this kind of thing." And I would caution you against believing everything that you've heard. The interesting thing is, especially in the prepper verse, the people who make up the prepper universe, is that they are so quick to doubt so much of what they're being told today, but so quick to accept what they've been told all their lives about certain things. not everybody, probably not you all. You all are a cut above the smartest commenters and probably the smartest viewers in YouTube land. And so when I say watch the history or study the history of Germany from 1933 on, I am not saying that it was Germany who wanted to start that big old war. Look into it. I'm not saying anything. I'm saying look at it. If you can still find some information on it, because so much of it has been washed away. But this reminds me what's going on today it's very similar in many, many ways. And so even though Putin may be entirely, I'm not going to say that he's up front. He'd be stupid to be up front, and he's not stupid. He may want international involvement in peace talks. He may not want to take all of Ukraine, because taking all of Ukraine would bring bigger problems than probably it's worth. So is it he who wants to push what's maybe coming? And I would suggest, like many of you also realize, that it may not be. I think our people are raging for a war. They need the war, like I've said before. They need it to cover all their problems. They need it to cover the economy, the economic collapse. They need it for all sorts of reasons. Democrats always go to war when they've screwed up things badly enough that they're afraid the voters might catch on. Okay. But anyway, getting back to, are you prepared for nuclear war? I will say that it's not something that I have ever particularly prepared for. But I'm going to start now. Now, might it be too late? Well, it depends, right? It depends on whether it happens tonight, or happens in a month, or doesn't happen at all. But it's something that I'm going to start preparing for. Now, I don't claim to be, I want to say this up front, I am no expert on preparing for or surviving nuclear war. I mean, who is, right? But there's also a lot of people out there who know a lot more than I do as far as radiation, and probably many of you on here know more about that, so I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. We'll probably get a lot more of it over on Patreon. By the way, I forgot to say, if you're not with us on Patreon, I'll put the link down below. I'm on the road, so I don't have my books, but this is brought to you by my books, as always, the Stonemont series, and if you'd like to join us on Patreon, the links to all that stuff is down below. Get your hands on the wheel. We'll probably get some really good comments over there on Patreon, and I learned a lot over there, and if you're not there, you should be. So anyway, that said, there are several schools of thought on preparing for or not preparing for nuclear war. There are a number of people that say, well, if it happens, the whole world's going up in smoke. There's nothing we can do about it. Well, I disagree with that. There are other people that say, I'm just going to get my lawn chair and a beer and watch it happen, and I don't care to survive through it. And to each their own, I mean, it's not up to me to tell anybody how to feel about things. But I'm always kind of surprised when people of a preparedness mindset adopt that position, because history has shown us, just ask the people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, history has shown us that life does go back to normal. Did you all remember seeing that comparison between Detroit and Hiroshima? We were taught to say Hiroshima when I was a kid, but I've heard Hiroshima so much, I guess I say that now. I don't know which is correct. I don't really care. You all know what I'm talking about. You see the comparison about Hiroshima in 1945 And Detroit in 1945, Detroit, a beautiful place. Hiroshima, just ruins. And then again in, 1985, 1995, something like that. I don't know. Maybe 50 years later, probably 95. And Hiroshima is just a beautiful place with people living in. And Detroit is like zombie land. Well, what I should have thrown in a few minutes ago, and I've said this a few times before, there is a paper out there written by Crescent Kearney, and I always forget the name of it. By the way, we are entering, and just about to leave also, the city of Tightwad, Missouri. Some of you get, probably most of you have never heard of Tightwad, Missouri, right? Population 69. And those of you who have heard of it, and some who haven't, get a kick out of just hearing that there's a place called Tightwad. I wrote about it in one of my books. I write about Warsaw quite a bit. It has a good presence in one of my books. I think it's the third or fourth book. I forget which. But anyway, a guy by the name of Crescent Kearney wrote a book about surviving nuclear war. And you can get the PDF free somewhere online, and I'm sure that somebody on Patreon will, first somebody on YouTube will give the real name of it, because I never remember. I've got it in my office, but I don't remember the name. And somebody on Patreon will probably put the link in there for it. Read it. It gives you great information. Great information. Would you want to survive a nuclear war? So I guess that's the first question. Well, the first question is this going to happen? And none of us know. There's no way. There will be people that say it's never going to happen. And I always find that interesting too. That's another, just like I mentioned before, in the prepper verse, a lot of, preparedness-minded people get all upset when people won't listen to them about the importance of preparedness, and when the people just stick their head in the sand and say, well, that's never going to happen. And yet the same people, when it comes to, something that they haven't prepared for, don't particularly believe, or nuclear war, they'll say, that's never going to happen. So, you might check yourself in the mirror on that. But is it going to happen? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. We've never been this place in history before. And then I guess the next question is, do you want to survive it? My opinion is, why would you not want to? The whole purpose, mankind has always been, it's been a story of survival. People want to live, period. They except for, I guess, different kind of people. Most people just want to live. They want to survive. They want to, spend the rest of their lives watching their kids grow up and their grandkids. And then they, the kids and the grandkids want the same thing. And mankind has gone through some horrible times in history. And it will go through more horrible times, even more horrible than a Biden presidency. So I don't understand not wanting to survive. Oh, Steve, somebody will say, you don't understand how horrible radiation sickness is and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, well, whatever. I probably understand it. Fine. And, but what I would prepare for is to try to avoid that. Okay. Now, can it be survived? Plenty of people tell us that it can. So then, can it be prepared for? Well, if it can be survived, it can be prepared for. And the extent of your preparations is going to determine, like we always say, how well you come out the other side. So how well do you want to come out the other side? You want to come out glowing and all your hair falling out and like some of the scenes in some of the movies? Or do you want to try to survive it and come out later and try to reestablish some semblance of life? That's my choice. So what I would simply suggest here is that this is a really pretty drive. This is beautiful country through central Missouri. Southern Missouri and northern Missouri are much different. The same in some ways, but much different in terrain and such. And central Missouri is kind of a blend of the two, and it's really my favorite part of Missouri. I have land not far from here. That's another thing that people think that it'd be safe out here. You'd want to get out of the cities, right? Well, let's just use Kansas City as an example. There's nothing in Kansas City that they need to nuke unless they just want to kill a bunch of people, and maybe they do, but unless they're targeting population centers, there's really nothing in Kansas City that they would want to target. However, out here, guess what? Whiteman Air Force Base, right? And a bunch of missile silos. This used to be just full of all this area around here, full of missile silos. I don't even know what missiles we use anymore. I don't care. I don't keep up on that stuff. It used to be the old Nike and the old Minuteman missiles, and I know that they've sold a bunch of them, and a bunch of them around here have been turned into survival bunkers and things. I've never been attracted to that. I've never wanted to live in a hole in the ground for extended periods of time. But I mean, that's what it would take to survive a nuclear situation. But I don't want to, dedicate my life to living in a big old hole. I'll stay there for as long as necessary until I can come back out. So that brings us to, how do we prepare? Well, I tell you to go back to Crescent Kearney, but still, basic preparedness is the place to start. So once you've got that down, realize that what protects against radiation, and we know that radiation is only one aspect of a nuclear strike. So if it's right on top of you, good luck. But if you survive the initial blast and the different waves, then your main concern is radiation. And there we go. There's Truman Lake right off to the right through the trees. That is a pretty sight. I think we're getting close to Warsaw, so I better wrap this up. Someplace underground is what you want. You got a basement? Good. If you've got a bunker, better. If you've read my first book, something like that would be exceptional. Have what it takes to be able to stay, and I'm not going to give particulars here because I don't know them well enough. I've read them, but I don't remember them, okay? I have it, so I would refer to it. Have a place you can go underground, well sealed. If you've got concrete or dirt above you, that's going to be very helpful. And then there will be ways to come out after a period of time and start to reestablish some semblance of society. Let me turn around so you can see the lake. I don't know if I turned you right or not because I couldn't see. Very pretty, beautiful around here. So that's, I believe that I want to survive if that's what happened. If these crazy people in this world, through on purpose or by mistake, start lighting things up, I want to have some chance of surviving, and I want to do whatever it takes to give my family some chance of surviving. The world, would it be different? Yeah, it'd be a lot different. Be a lot different. But would it be a world that I don't want to live in? Well, I'll tell you what, as long as my family's with me, it's a world I want to live in. And each person has to answer that for themselves. I guess it depends on your family, right? Or your friends. Hopefully you got good ones that you want to live around. So if this whole thing was just glowing, I'd still want to survive it and have a shot at some kind of comeback. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. And I hope that you all don't succumb to this idea of it'd just be so terrible I wouldn't want to survive. That's not what mankind is about. God didn't make us to give up in difficult times. He made us to survive. And remember, like they say, everybody who's alive today is the product of generations and generations and generations and hundreds of thousands of years of survivors. So you all have a good day. I think I'm getting pretty close in here. I better start paying attention. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And give me your thoughts down in the comments. If you're not with us yet over on Patreon, come on over. It only costs you $1, and you'll get the benefit of a lot of very smart people to get in pretty deep on this stuff. But you all have a good day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.